The romantic go-to.
The one to go to, and that was the one I played a lot.
Yeah.
Being the OCD completist, of course, you need to have 2 copies. You have to always connect with a free poster game, and having your Fontana English copy as well. Just to, should I ever be burgled?
I associate Country Joe and the Fish and Ogden's Nut Gone Flake and Jefferson Airplane so much with that first year in Wrexham, and Donovan as well. You have the things you came with. I think you were discovering stuff at the time, weren't you? But you came with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And also, it's that phase where you're just very open to things, aren't you? And you would go, like, I'd listen to, it'd be like that cross-fertilization of, I'll be playing I don't know, Moody Blues in Search of the Lost Chord. And you'd say, oh, this sounds like almost like early King Crimson, And I'd heard of King Crimson, but I didn't know any of their stuff. So then I think at that time you had, either a box set or the first couple of albums. And I fell in love with, obviously, Court of the Crimson King, because I loved the Bellotron and the arrangements and
Yeah, they were like the evil Moody Blues, weren't they?
Yeah.
It's like they took the Moody Blues sound and then just made it evil.
Talking of, I'm just reaching here. I've got huge amounts of CDs everywhere, but I'm just reaching for something here in terms of. Bear with me. This will give you a Proustian rush.
I'm bracing myself. I can't wait.
So this was also the soundtrack for You, Me, and Steve.
Oh yes, yeah, the psychedelic years, and Volume 2, Volume 1 and Volume 2,
which we got from the boat shed, as we used to call it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Phase 1 Records, and it was called the boat because he was like Michael from Home and Away.
It was, yeah, which obviously we were big Home and Away fans as well at the time.
Yes. So yes, when I think of psychedelia, yes, there's that early kind of late teens exploration, discovering the Beatles and Rolling Stones and early Pink Floyd and stuff like that. So then, and I think I knew Jefferson Airplane. I'd heard of Jefferson Airplane and a few bands I'd heard of, but I never heard the Grateful Dead. I knew of them, but I couldn't. Pre-internet, it's like you couldn't just go and play Dark Star. You'd have to fight. You'd have to go to someone's house and find a baby boomer who had a copy of Live Dead or something.
Yeah, you go to HMV, they wouldn't have them in there.
No.
Right, unless you were really lucky, unless they had some second-hand section, but even then,
Yeah. Well, but these compilations, particularly when I look at what's on there, and both, they're probably some of the best compilations I've ever come across for Psych, kind of American and English. Because, you've got your obvious things like the Byrds, Buffalo Springfield, things like that. But then we'd come across, what stuff? Obviously 13th Elevators you'd get introduced to. Iron Butterfly doing Engada de Vida.
Yeah.
Love. So Forever Changes came out of hearing a couple of tracks on these compilations.
Is it Alone Again or that's on there?
Yeah. So that was on there. It's a Beautiful Day, Whitebird, which is
Balling, yeah.
Favorites. And I discovered It's a Beautiful Day, which is sort of West Coast, San Francisco, sort of H.P. Lovecraft, which are quite obscure. The White Ship.
Yeah. The White Ship is an incredible track, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's very Jefferson Airplane, like in its feel and
Yeah.
So I discovered Nico from here, from the Nico solo work.
Oh right.
Which
Evening of Light.
Yes, it's Evening of Light.
Yeah, you want to scare yourself in the late hours.
Yeah. And Heavy Jelly. I keep singing that same old song, which is on which is on the Island compilation. So there'd be loads of kind of the Sparrow, which are is in Exchange, which was a pre-Steppenwolf band.
Mm.
I get John Cale solo tracks, Pearls Before Swine. These aren't the people things like these. They're quite obscure. Yeah, they're not you just Jimi Hendrix, the Stones. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they're quite kind of left field. The Misunderstood, Yambo Dukes, the Ultimate Spinach Heap.
What's the ultimate spinach track?
What was it now? I'm just going to think it here. Ego Trip.
Right.
Got a voice at the beginning going something like your voice.
Mindless cretins. That then.
Yeah, and you go. What else was on there that we Cack Rain?
Oh, right, yeah. Lemonade Kid.
Yeah. Which got used in like a Vodafone advert in like
Yes. I thought I was losing my mind when I heard that.
yeah, it's a bit like it's as if when we were in Bath Road years later we ended up working for Saatchi and Saatchi. And we've been given a new brief to do, O2's new ad, and we think we're doing piles of coke during our business lunch, and we think, do you remember that time when we used to listen to that obscure West Coast acid rock band on CAC? Let's put Lemonade Kid in the advert. It'll be a little jolly laugh between us, and they do, yeah.
See, the frustrating thing about that was when that happened, I wanted to tell everyone I knew, but no one knew what the fuck I was talking about. No one knew what CAC is. And like the only person I could have talked to about was you.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, yeah, it's like a really obscure psychedelic number from like the late 60s, and why are they using it on? And like people would be like, I don't care.
Yeah. And it was a bit like I just like it's very kind of schoolboyish men's kind of treats. But a couple of years ago, I went to a burlesque night with some friends, and but various ladies doing their burlesque shows, and I've been to see Dita Von Teese in more bigger, the Queen of Burlesque. But this was much more of a small down the gay village in Manchester. It was surrounded by Hindus. So it was all a weird evening. But anyway, various women came on and did their shows. And then one woman came on dressed in a sort of almost a bit like Daisy Duke Stars and Stripes outfit.
Yeah.
With guns and she started doing her burlesque strip tease show number was Psychotic Reaction by the Count Five. And I was going, and I was like squealing with delight in a slightly drunk state to my friend. More, I was also like, my God, they've combined my two favorite things all at once here. I think I'm going to explode.
It's like they tapped into your subconscious.
Yeah.
But I know what they'll like.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain demographic, a man in the audience here. I think only the Count Five will get us out of here.
That compilation, it really clearly demarcated UK and US psychedelia, because it's got one disc of UK stuff and then the other two discs are
it's got first one is Back in the USA, which is the first. Oh, that's sorry. Yeah, the first one, Psychedelic Years, which we got, is first disc is American. Oh, second one is American. There's two discs of American, and then the third one is English.
Yeah.
On the follow up, Revisited. It's Back in the USA is American, British Isles, and then they have a third disc on the follow one called Far Out, which is kind of more sort of slightly obscure tracks. So you've got like Pearls Before Swine. Oh, Moby Grape. That's where we discovered Moby Grape through this.
Right, yeah.
You'd hear Robert Plant name drop, but you'd never heard any pre-internet. Not many people had Moby Grape's first album. Yeah. The Birds, but Changes Now, which is a brilliant psychedelic track from their Notorious Bird Brothers album. Again, it's not on. You don't normally get it on best ofs. Yeah. So we discover these Nico solo tracks and things like that. And the other thing that became again these were. I had a couple of these on vinyl. I bought these were everyone of a certain age who were a teenager in the 80s, early 90s. The Rubble Smith.
Oh, right, yeah.
Phil Smee, who was he's a graphic designer actually. If you look at most Psych compilations or box sets, if you look who's done the graphic design work for it, Phil Smee is his own, in-house design company. He's done a lot of design work, but these Rubble albums came out. And he kept it in his own label. He was a big collector, or still is. So he owned all these obscure singles. You might recognize some of these covers. I think we had a few on record. These were the Psychedelic Swirl. So this is all English.
Yeah.
Where you hear tracks by Wimble Witch, who is this really obscure Liverpool band, and yeah.
So what is
49 Technicolor Dream, where you get tracks by Jason Crest, who's like a weird Arthur Brown, singing
Oh, okay.
The Misunderstood.
So is Rubble British bands? Because I've heard of it, I don't know anything about it. And there's like Boulders as well as Nuggets.
Faces. Where you get stuff
The
of.
Clouds have groovy faces. Yeah, I remember talking about that.
Yeah, I think I had it on vinyl. Or
Yeah.
tracks by Turquoise, who are very like the Kinks. The Attack, Ancient, Red Sky at Night, which is it now seems like iconic British Psych.
Yeah.
You might see me liking on Facebook recently. There's a record dealer in Birmingham who's just bought some huge collection of some dealers who died record collection, and he's just putting on eBay these, singles that are in these compilations, and they're going for like, I mean, some of them are demos. You get those A on the demo record. Going for like £800,000 singles. Yeah, kind of. So yeah, all these were. I mean, I didn't realize at the time these were. Well, they're mainly on. You didn't have them on. I think they're on CD. They're on vinyl originally.
Yeah.
And I came across it for a friend's older brother had a couple in the late 80s, and they were basically they were introduction. So they're all English, generally, and a bit of European Psych.
Yeah.
And then obviously years later, I discovered which became the most famous one is
That's the one.
Yeah, which then became a Rhino box set.
Yeah.
Expanded version.
I think we got that from the library, didn't we? The box set had like 5 discs or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it came out when we were in Sheffield or something. Or,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that was the famous. That's Lenny Kay, who's in Patti Smith's band.
Yeah.
So he was asked by Jack Holzman, who was head of Electric, or I think he might have posed it to Jack Holzman, this idea of these obscure sort of what then became now known as Gary rock, bands who maybe had one regional hit, like the Kinsmen with Louie Louie. I mean, that was much more the bigger one.
Yeah.
Or Question Mark and the Mistalons.
Yeah. 96 Tears. Yeah.
Of course, 13 Floor Elevators, You're Gonna Miss Me, and things like But that's what made this. This predates, all these kind of This is probably the first Psych compilation of obscure material.
This is what all the others are based on, right?
Yeah, see that every Rhino box set or acid folk compilation ever since. This is the sort of the birth of all of that, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah,
has that got the Sonics Psycho on it?
I think it has,
I love that. And it's just screaming all the way through. That's like, if you wanted to like tell people what's a good example of like garage rock 60s nuggets type music, like stick on Psycho and you've got it.
It's got things like Electric Cruise, I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night, Dirty Water by the Sandells. I mean, sort of like the Seeds. I'd never heard the Seeds. I might have heard the name, but Pushing Too Hard, which is a great.
Yeah. That was it. There was so many bands that you just saw written down in books or in like Q or something.
yeah,
that there was just no chance that you'd get to hear it unless it was, unearthed.
yeah. And there's something to be said for that sort of. I mean, it's easy to romanticize it, but there was something about pre-internet. I mean, it's wonderful that I could go on, I can go on eBay tonight and think of some obscure record, and potentially I'll probably find it. Yeah, but then I can't remember who it said. They said about the internet. We've lost a sense of longing or mystery around things because
Yeah, I mean,
it's this. Whereas
yeah,
whether you're into records or posters or rare books or a bootleg of King Crimson from 1974, something about the fact
yeah,
you would hear about it, you'd wonder about it, you'd never seen one, and you might spend 10, 15 years looking to find a first edition of this or all these posters
yeah,
behind me. These original San Francisco West Coast, Victor Moscoso posters that I saw in, you know, it might be a Mojo special on psychedelia or something, or a book out of the library who looked at, but you never, you couldn't just just look them up on the internet. And it was only when I went to San Francisco well, 15, 20 years ago on holiday, and then I went and actually found a San Francisco psychedelic poster shop.
yeah.
I was seeing all these posters for the first time in the flesh, as it were, and almost like, going, oh my God, and I can buy one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember you having to put up with like just going to a copy center and getting a laser copy or like a color photocopy of like stuff out of the Art of Rock. It just it was not very conducive to those colors, but
Yeah.
that was all you had if you wanted to do
It's really-
reproduction.
You never forget that. We go to print shops, wouldn't we, and say, could you do an A4 of this, please? And we
Yeah,
create a mock shift sort of psychedelic poster to stick on your walls. And but yeah, no, there's that sort of sense of, it's great that we have all this access to things. And like you say, there was something about that sense of, well, it reminds me of the story I'd heard Paul McCartney tells about pre-Beatles fame, that when he was learning the guitar, there was this particular chord, or I forget what it is now, that him and George Harrison had heard about, and they couldn't play it, and they couldn't look it up on the internet. There wasn't like how to play the guitar. Couldn't go on Instagram or TikTok. So they travelled several hours, several bus journeys to this guy's house in sort of North Liverpool. Knocked on his door and said, "Do you know like any E major or something?" And he went, "Yeah." And they come in and they go in, and some older bloke, and they'd spend 2 hours in his bedroom watching his hands learn this chord, and then travel all the way back, having got the sort of this holy grail of. Whereas now, and it's wonderful, when you and me, I bombard you with endless things of, now there'll be some young woman who's 25 playing the Rain Song, just note for note, or some guy
yeah,
playing Neil
yeah,
Young's, Ohio. It doesn't probably have to work out. I mean, it's still a bit of a mystery, but you can work out. There's people telling you how all the tunings for Nick Drake,
yeah.
which you wouldn't know years ago. You'd have to, you'd have to play the records. Even then, we'd probably have to be second guessing. But now it's all at your fingertips.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is it. We've gained so much, but we've lost. You don't get that sense of achievement. Like you're trying to track down a record or a poster, or like comic books. As I remember going to comic fairs and trying to find a specific issue, and it's like, if they might not have it, they might not even know they've got it in the books, in the boxes. So you have to just go through every single one. You might be able to write someone in a magazine or put an ad in a magazine, and then maybe someone will get back to you. And obviously, it's so much easier now. And any kid who's getting into music can listen to the whole history of music, and which is amazing. But like, I think we had that sense of almost like ownership because we discovered stuff. We went out, we made a point of trying to find out as much about these bands that we liked, or just to hear something that we read about. And you had to make the effort. You had to go to a little record shop and see if you could find it in there, or ask around.
Yeah. No, something about that. And I've heard. I mean, I haven't got children, but I've heard, particularly Mark Allen and oh God, what's
David Epworth.
David Hepworth, talk about
Yeah.
their children who are now, well, they're not grown up. You could say the Spotify generation, or even streaming. They love all the old music from all vast popular culture's history, but they have no chronological sense of where it exists historically. So they'll listen to Stone Roses and the Beatles and the Doors, and I mean, somebody you could say, Louis Armstrong or saying, and they'll know what they like, and they'll like, and Jeff Buckley, but they have no sense of, they can't tell you where it sits chronologically. I wonder if we were the last generation pre-internet, because that's how you discover things. You'd have to read about it or, look it up. That it forced you to have a sense contextually of, I mean, we were a bit geeky and interested in that kind of stuff, but we would know to some degree, okay, this is the Velvet Underground, and they exist in this timeline, and then they influenced David Bowie and, Roxy Music and, punk and It don't just exist. We couldn't just stream Waiting for the Man on Venus in Furs abstractly.
Yeah.
And also we read music. We have these Mojo articles on.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a bit of context because we sought this stuff out. But even so, I think, if you want to know about Crosby, Stills and Nash, you can read the Wikipedia page, or you can go out and buy a book that's authorized or something. But there's something about like looking at like old magazines and seeing what people were saying at the time, and people were saying such and such this is just a flash in the pan, it's never going to exist, and we still know it now, and I think we know a bit, but like there's still a bit of distortion of, like, I think of psychedelia as a genre. So any musical genre is like a big thing in and of itself, and you can describe it, you can talk about it, you can talk about the art, you can talk about design and all the people that are involved. But I was watching a thing about Yes, and Steve Howe was on there, and he was talking about, he used to be in Tomorrow, and he was like saying, well, psychedelia was over after 6 months. And I was like, how can psychedelia be over after 6 months? It's a genre, but from his point of view, there was a time in London where everything was psychedelic. And then within a year it had gone and it had sort of moved on to something else. So I think it'd be interesting to sort of look at some of that old stuff. And and like the music press was really different back then. It's like there was a review. I only looked at like 3 or 4 old magazines, all from like 67, 68, and there was a review of Love Forever Changes, and it just listed the songs, and it said, "Oh, this one's sure to be a hit," but it didn't really, how you would imagine you would talk about Forever Changes. No, it was just like, it just listed the members of the band, and it talked about Arthur Lee a little bit, and it just had the tracks, and it said this one's a toe tapper. you know it was just another album that week.
Yeah. And again, Forever Changes, for my sense, when if you look at reviews in original magazines from that period, it didn't sell. It bombed in America. It became a cult. John Peel was a big fan of it. So in the UK and Europe, it did really well. It was, relatively speaking, for underground albums. But it wasn't seen as the greatest. Oh my God, this is the new greatest. This is the new Sgt. Pepper. It's 50 years of revisionism and people playing it. Obviously, our generation, other people, that now it's now seen as one of the greatest albums of all time in that sort of genre. Yeah. Same as Pet Sounds. It was loved by probably certain people, and it was, venerated amongst some people in the music industry and journalists, but not to the same degree we now think of it. Yeah. That sort of, like say, revisionism on what's seen as cool or what's out of favor and comes back in again.
Yeah.
So
I think in their quote from Jim Morrison, that when the Doors are starting, he said their ambition was to be as big as Love. So obviously in on the scene, they were really big, but like you're saying, like in terms of like global success, it was just like, a tiny fish in a big pond.
But I was interested to see what in in the NME what albums came out in December 67. And I see that Traffic's Mr. Fantasy came out in December. Rolling Stones, Satanic Majesties,
Oh wow, awesome.
with the, forget what you call it. It's like the sort of, and then
Yeah,
Jimi Hendrix.
lenticular.
That's it, sleeve. Yeah, we're very, very much a kind of, which I think they were sort of criticized for, sort of slightly copying Sergeant Pepper in their outfits and the whole sort of look of it.
Mm.
And apparently, yeah, the Stones hated it, or they sort of look back at it and, I think Mick Jagger's quote is saying, "There's a lot of rubbish on Satanic Majesties.
Yeah.
Just too much time on our hands."
But you can see why any band would be thinking, they'd hear Sergeant Pepper and think, "Oh shit, we've got to step up our game." You know?
Yeah. We've got to do something like that. Yeah.
I mean, how do you rate it?
I like it. I mean, it's not, compared to, classic sort of Stone. It's like, I like the fact it's an oddity in their sort of canyon of albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to, Beggar's Banquet or Let It Bleed or, Sticky Fingers or Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
That's much more sort of rootsy, classic sort of Stones that we can think of. Well, this is much more experimental. Yeah, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. But it's worth it alone for 2,000 light years from home.
Yeah.
Lots of
Mellotrons.
Electrons. There's a theme here.
Yeah.
Brian Jones, bless him, sort of doing great stuff on it as well before he sort of slips away from us. But I like it so much.
Is that an original with I can't imagine the reprints have the proper cover.
You get this, it's worth it for the cover again. You get the sort of sleeve, and then on the back you've got this sort of collage, sort of, and Inglorious Honor, and then you open it out, and you get this is why albums of this period are so great. You get a maze and a collage, and it's designed specially so you could roll a joint on it, or
Amazing.
Yeah. And you got and again, you can see why they were kind of psychedelic marble effect in a sleeve, which is very much like Sergeant Pepper with the Sergeant Pepper in a sleeve, which you've got the designed by the Fool, which has got that sort of psychedelic ripple effect. So you could see when it came out why they were sort of put over the coals for sort of copying the Beatles.
Yeah.
But I really like it. It's got She's a Rainbow on it, which is wonderful.
She's a Rainbow, yeah. I remember that being on an advert, like back in the 90s. We were talking about adverts, weren't we? Like, like for a car or something, but
yeah. And I think it's got Nicky Hopkins doing loads of beautiful piano.
Yeah.
Who, played with just loads of those sort of top 60s bands as a sort of guest musician because he's such a brilliant virtuoso pianist. And that song without his piano playing on it would just be so different.
Yeah.
But even though the Stones say they hate it, I've got memory that when they play Glastonbury, or when they're the sort of more recent, the last 5-10 years, they've actually included some of those songs, like She's a Rainbow, and I think they did 2,000 Light Years from Home when they played Glastonbury.
Yeah.
So maybe they sort of decided that there's a couple of tracks on it, that are sort of nostalgic and have a certain atmosphere that, they're prepared to sort of befriend them again. The other thing I noticed in the NME, it talks about, there's a little thing it looks like it's from the record label saying that this album is slightly delayed if you've ordered it, or it's about to come out, which I thought was interesting. Wonderful.
Yeah, there's an apology.
Yes, your copy is on its way or so.
Yeah. Nice.
And what's great, what's great about that is as well, which you don't get the CD, is it came with a lovely booklet,
Oh, wow, okay. I've never seen
and
that.
you get everybody's typical Bonzo, you know, Dadaist humor, and but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell they were art students.
yes. I mean, it's sort of psychedelic of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're just great, the Bonzos, aren't they?
Yeah, I think I got that from a record library. Another thing about finding new music is like, yeah, well, I've heard of them. I've heard, I'm the Urban Spaceman. I'll, like, check out the rest of it, but it's like, oh, you're luckily enough they've got it in a library, so I can go and get it and, find it.
Yeah, yeah. I think between us, we sort of do. It's a bit like archaeologists doing archive work. We we would go to the library a lot, and I think I remember you getting a compilation on the Bonzo Doodah band. Uh, but yeah, I just love their stuff. I think what they remind me of the day. It's a bit like I see at this image. I think if Noel Coward was in a psychedelic rock band, it's
Yeah.
it's just got
But
it's
another
so English, and the humor and the playfulness and the art school sensibilities.
It's another band that you'd sort of hear about, you'd read about, but it's like, well, how am I gonna hear them? And I think there might have been some documentary on Radio 1 about comedy and music, and they play a little snippet, you know?
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
But you can see why so many rock bands loved them and wanted to hang out with them and tour with them, you know?
yeah, yeah. And they're in the Magical Mystery Tour
Yeah.
in the film, in the strip club scene.
Yeah.
Doing talking of albums that I love, and that whole thing about you know pre-internet days, and that sense of wonder and curiosity, because you couldn't instantly find out about it. You'd have to do some research, or find a copy, or go to
Yeah.
record fair, or find someone. Was this album Donovan
No.
Sunshine Superman, which
So
is
Sentiment, yeah.
which is probably one of my favorite Donovan albums. It's him. I mean, it's got Season of the Witch on it. Of course, Sunshine Superman, Three Kingfishers, Fat Angel with Jefferson Airplane covered. It's got a lot of the
Yeah.
Indian sitar kind of tabla, and it's just gorgeous. But anyway, this album, because of contractual reasons, wasn't issued in the UK. That's a bit of a hybrid between this and the second album. So this is the American copy, which
Yeah.
is the best version, I think. But anyway, I couldn't find a copy of this. And then again, we had to do, I think a friend of a friend, I think my friend Steve, got hold of a copy. And he excitedly brought it, after one summer holiday, brought it on a tape. Like, I found a copy of, someone had got hold of a copy and they'd managed to tape it. And that whole thing about, so you were just left with this sense of, you'd read about it in maybe a music magazine or an article in Mojo, saying, or even, music sort of history books. And then you would sort of sit there wondering what it sounded like, because you just didn't have access to it. Unless your
Yeah.
baby boomer parents had a huge record collection with, comprehensive record like that.
Yeah.
You might have heard the odd song on the compilation. Like, even though I love the fact that I can just, like, it's wonderful, click of a button, I can go and check someone's music out, or I can go on eBay and buy a copy. There's something about
Yeah.
that you sort of miss the hunt of
Yeah.
things being
Finally finding something after you've been looking for. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I noticed there
So
was also
so
a
w
review
that
of this.
it was yeah. Yeah, Procol Harum.
There's
I
a
think
review of it in the
he
end.
was yeah, and he was saying, I was just expecting them to be a one-off, one-hit wonder, but, like, he actually got into
Yeah, yeah.
the album as was, yeah?
Mm. Yeah, I was sort of.
Yeah,
I think he
did
gave it 4 stars.
yeah. Did you delve into Procol Harum much
I
in your
did again.
musical travels?
Um, to some degree, yes. Like you, I'd heard a couple of tracks obviously, Whiter Shade of Pale is the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the most played songs at people's funeral, believe it or not.
All right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
um, and yeah, years later I bought this. Actually, no, I think a friend gave me this. This is the American copy. For some strange reason, Parker Harum decided to not include on their UK initial first release of the album their biggest single of all time, which is
Yeah.
White Shade of Pale.
Yeah.
But on the American version, which this is, you get it. Maybe they amended it in the office. Yeah. And their subsequent albums are very good as well.
Yeah. I think I just have got a compilation and a few bits here and there, but I mean, I'm looking at the track list now. Conquistadors on there. That's a great song.
Yeah. And my second favorite is As It At the Gates of Sardis. If I pronounce that correctly.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's got that kind of lovely, sort of guitar solo on it and percussion. And also what gets mentioned in that December issue is Scott Walker's first album.
Scott Walker, yeah.
Which I have to confess I was late to being a Scott Walker fan. I heard the odd song on compilations or yeah. Those first 4 Scott Walker albums, Scott 1, 2, 3, and then 4 are just amazing. And they're sort of, again, I was late to the party in terms of I was aware of him, but I hadn't really sort of delved into it. And I love that sort of lush sort of orchestral pop, and his voice, that sort of baritone. I think it's baritone, but the voice he's got is absolutely just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And again, what I love about Scott Walker is the sort of, if you get this sort of lush kind of almost kind of 60s pop arrangements, and then you're listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics are incredibly dark and art house. So you've got this lush kind of 60s pop arrangement, beautiful strings. And then he's singing about visiting a prostitute and some batch. Yeah, I think it's something good. There's existential lyrics about living in a bedsit and listening to my non-treat terror, lot stories and